Well, I got a little story for you today, a true story about a raid on the Pasture River back in 1764. So I'm going to be showing some pictures as I'm reading this story. So the pictures that you're seeing is not the exact location of where this raid took place, but some pictures are taken around and on the banks of the Pasture River, different places. So I hope you enjoy this little story. And it's supposedly a true story. No one knows the exact location as to where this raid occurred, but maybe somebody out there listening might know where it is. Anyway, hope you enjoy the story. Now, somewhere in the Deerfield, Virginia, West Augusta, Virginia area, near the Pasture River, although we don't know where the location is, nobody knows. I've done a little research on this and can't find out too much about it, but years ago I was reading Miss Frances Griffin's book, Wagon Roads to the Mountains of Western Virginia, and she had a story about it, and I figure she probably got her information from the book, the Annals of Augusta County, and from 1726 to 1871. So I checked that book out. I actually got a Kindle version of it. It wasn't very much money. I mean, do a little research on it. And we know the Pasture River runs west Augusta near Deerfield down to Goshen, and I think it merges with the Little Pasture. And I believe that somewhere in that area maybe forms the Maury River and eventually ends up in the James River. So anyway, somewhere in that area of Augusta County, western Augusta County, there was a raid. And I'm going to read out of this book, The Annals of Augusta County. It's about the Kincaid family. Now, back in those days, they spelled their names Kinkead. In the year of 1764, William Kincaid lived near the source of the big Pasture River, Augusta County. Let me stop right there. So the source of it, that's probably, it could be anywhere along there, west Augusta maybe, where you cross it at 250. I'm not sure where this was at, but maybe somebody listening will know where this event took place. Okay, let me continue with the story now. Okay, Kincaid's family consisted of his wife and two children, a boy and a girl. And his wife was also expecting a baby. The story is that because of the insecurity of the times, the neighbors had brought their valuable possessions to the Kincaid's house, it being larger and a safer hiding place than their own dwellings. This fact became known and led to an attack by Indians. Now, it doesn't say here in the article what who the Indians were. You could speculate, maybe say they're Shawnee, but there's no indication as who they were. But in other words, they've been hostile Indians, good Indians, bad Indians, like everybody else. And before I continue here a little bit, I saw an article, or actually saw a thing on YouTube, a genealogy thing, where if you have relatives in this country, the United States of America, before I think 1820 or the early 1800s, there's a 50% chance that you have Native American Indian blood in you, Native American blood. So a lot of us do. I have some myself. I'm proud of every drop I've got. Okay, let me go on down here where the thing reads on here, the book reads on. On the 12th of April, 1764, Kincaid being out on his farm and his home was beset by a party of savages. His wife, finding that escape was impossible without extraordinary heroism, she assisted the Indians in their hurried preparations to leave so they might get off before her husband's return and danger to his life be avoided. When he came back, his wife and children had been carried off. Nothing was heard of the captives till after Bouquet's Treaty of November 1764, when Mrs. Kincaid, with other prisoners, was delivered up in the pursuance of the stipulation. She carried in the arms an infant daughter born during her captivity, July 25, 1764. Her account of the two older children was that the boy kept up with the party on their return to Ohio for several days, but he was put in the immediate charge of a young Indian who seemed to take pleasure in tormenting the child, often pushing him back and forcing him to reclimb banks and steep places. By this system of treatment, the little captive became exhausted and unable to proceed as at first. He was then tomahawked and killed in his mother's presence, one of the Indians, however, having the humanity to cover her eyes that she might not witness the spectacle. The daughter was separated from her mother about the time the infant was born. Her name was Isabella. She was not recovered by her parents till some time after her mother's release. When brought to the rendezvous, she was dressed in skins and clung to the skirt of a squaw. So changed was in appearance that even her mother failed to recognize her at first, but finally identified her by a scar on her foot where she had been bled. She grew up, married Andrew Hamilton, and has many descendants. That's an interesting statement right there, where it said identified her by a scar on her foot where she had been bled. You know, the old timers used to do this process they would call bleeding for sickness and different things. They thought that it was good to be bled every now and then. So that was how they identified her for sure, seeing that scar on her foot where she had been bled. Mrs. Kincaid stated that the Indians treated her personally with kindness and that at the time of her confinement, everything possible was done for her comfort. So that's a little look at a little historic event here in the Deerfield, Virginia, West Augusta, Virginia area, western Augusta County. So I hope you enjoyed that and maybe learned something that you didn't already know. Thanks for listening.